Sylvia Rivera was a pioneer for the LGBTQ community due to her work to help create a safe environment for trans people and the whole LGBTQ community. The creation of the group houses and her work fighting against the homophobia that the community had faced were paramount additions to her frontier. LGBTQ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. In this community, they have faced many struggles like the blatant homophobia and the hate crimes that they had come across. Besides this, the LGBTQ community had made many cultural contributions and made a major part inside of the history of the United States, like the Stonewall riots, which had produced many activists such as Sylvia Rivera. Sylvia Rivera, who was born as Ray Rivera, a male, was born on July 2, 1951, and had died on February 19, 2002. They were born in New York and were born to a Puerto Rican father and a Venezuelan mother. Despite this, however, Ray had become an orphan at the age of 10 due to the fact that their father was absent and their mother had died due to suicide. Because of this, Ray had begun to be raised by their grandmother. At a young age, Ray had begun to experiment with clothing and makeup that would perceive him to look like a girl. By doing so, Ray was beaten and attacked on a school playground in 6th grade by another student. This had made Rivera run away from home and caused her to work on the streets of 42nd Street in Manhattan, New York. After running away, Ray Rivera decided to change his name to Sylvia Rivera. While on the streets of New York, Sylvia had fought against many who decided to discriminate against her and others, and due to these life experiences that she had faced and discrimination, Sylvia had a deep desire for equality of others. This has caused Rivera to join the gay rights movement and the need for more inclusivity inside the movement. During the time of Sylvia joining the gay rights movement, Rivera had met Marsha P. Johnson. Johnson was an African American that had self-identified as a drag queen and an activist that was also battling the exclusion in the movement for gay rights because they didn't embrace her due to her gender expression. Rivera had stated that Johnson was like a mother to her. On June 28, 1969, in New York City, the police had arrived at the Stonewall Inn, a bar that was located in Greenwich Village that had catered towards the LGBTQ community. The day that the police had conducted the raid, they had arrested many individuals that had been caught cross-dressing. Rivera said in an interview posted by Queer Bible that in 1969, the night of the Stonewall riots, it was very hot and a muggy night. We were inside the bar and the lights had come on and we all stopped dancing. The police came in. They had gotten their payoff earlier in the week, but Inspector Pine came in, he and his moral squad, to spend more of the government's money. We were let out the bar and they cuddled us all up against the police vans. The cops pushed us against the crates and the fences. People started throwing pennies, nickels, and quarters at the cops. And then the bottles started. And then we finally had the moral squad barricaded in the Stonewall building because they were actually afraid of us at the time. They didn't know that we were going to react this way. We were not taking any more of this blink. We had done so much for other movements, it was time. With that quote being said, this had caused a big resistance with the people in the bar and many individuals that had gathered around. Rivera said in an interview in 2001 that while she didn't throw the first cocktail at the police, she did throw the second one. And for those 6 nights that the protest had happened, 17-year-old Rivera had refused to go home and sleep, saying, "I'm not missing a minute of this. It's the revolution." Sylvia had resisted arrest against her and had failed to cooperate with the police any time they had tried to arrest her. Sylvia Rivera had also subsequently led a series of protests against the raid. Sylvia had said how the Stonewall riots became one of the most determining events in her life. Even though the Stonewall riots uprising had also been a turning point for the gay rights movement, the first pride parades, which had started in the 1970s, had become a major importance in the community, but still many transgender people were being discriminated against and were encouraged to not participate, including Sylvia. In 1973, Sylvia had participated in the gay pride parade but wasn't allowed to speak, even though she had major amounts of work done with all the advocacy. Besides not being allowed to speak, she had grabbed the microphone telling the spectators and other marchers if it wasn't for drag queens, there would be no gay liberation movement. We're the frontliners. This had caused her to be booed off the stage. Throughout these 70s, Sylvia and Marsha had co-founded START, Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, an organization that was there to achieve rights for the trans community, and had provided social services to largely ignored groups. STAR had become a space to organize and discuss the major issues that transgender people were facing inside of New York City. In addition to this, Rivera and Johnson had started Star House in order to assist with the homelessness in the gay community, with a focus on LGBTQ plus people of color. Rivera, who had also explained in 1998, Marcia and I decided it was time to help each other and help our other kids. We fed people and clothed people. We kept the building going. We went out and hustled on the streets. We paid the rent. Though Rivera was only 19 herself, she had become an amazing mother to many residents in the Star House, with her and Johnson forming a home for those that needed a family the most. Rivera and Star had also become the Young Lords Party, an organization of revolutionary Puerto Rican youth. Rivera had called when the Young Lords came about in New York City. I was already in GLF. There was a mass demonstration that started in East Harlem in the fall of 1970. The protests were against police repression, and we decided to join the demonstration with our Star banner. That was one of the first times the Star banner was shown in public, where Star was present as a group. I ended up meeting some of the Young Lords that day. I'll become one of them. Anytime they needed help, I was always there for the Young Lords. It was just the respect they gave us as human beings. They gave us a lot of respect. It was a fabulous feeling for me to be myself, being a part of the Young Lords as a drag queen, and my organization Star being part of the Young Lords. In February of 1970, Sylvia had gone to join the Gay Activist Alliance. She threw herself into the effort to pass the New York City Gay Rights Bill. This bill had forbidden discrimination against someone because of their sexual orientation, and the violations against this bill would be fined up to $500 and up to a year in jail. Sylvia had supported the bill a lot, to where at a point in time she had scaled the walls of New York City and City Hall in a dress and heels to attempt to have access to closed-door votes for the bill. And in 1994, Sylvia had led an illegal march up at NYC's Fifth Avenue commemorating the 25th anniversary of Stonewall. And by 1997, Rivera had joined the Transy House Collective in Park Slope, Brooklyn. At the house, she had helped provide financial assistance and counseling support for young transgender people in the process of gender transition. With all of this involved, Sylvia had become a constant of the LGBTQ plus community with the quote, "I fought too damn hard for this community to be put up with the disrespect that I have received in my community and what they have received in the last 32 years. This is coming from the June 2001 interview that Sylvia Rivera had given to LGMNY. With her untimely death in 2002 due to cancer, Sylvia had her legacy to still continue to make a big impact, such as the Sylvia Rivera Lava Project, which works to guarantee that all people are free to self-determine their gender identity and expression regardless of income or race. The SRLP provides legal services for those who cannot afford representation and transgender people of color, and the SRLP works to improve access to legal services inside their communities. Also, with her long activism, this had helped to put the teen in the LGBTQ+ rights movement, and in 2019, in New York City, there was an announcement stating that Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson would be commemorated with the monument for the 50th anniversary of the uprising of the Stonewall riots, these monuments being the first transgender monuments as well.